Hello YouTube, and this is Blue with Infinite Chronicles. Daisy says hi, and we will get straight into this video. This video is what if they never fought? Now, the basic concept of that would have to be Archie versus Maxie. Now, this is a very legendary battle within the Pokemon community, within the Pokemon games. It was a very big impact on Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby, and of course the Ruby Sapphire games, and including the Emerald version and the adaptation that they did on that as well. Now, starting with starting with Maxie, the leader of Team Magma, with just like, okay, they all had a theme to where they had Poochyena, but they also had like fire type Pokemon. So the basic concept of that is they're obsessed with Groudon and the red orb, and they want to get that red orb to be able to revive Groudon, and they just don't understand the power that Groudon has, that would like end up basically creating a big wasteland, with, you know, with its desolate lands and everything like that, and plus with the primal aspect of it as well. That's where the ability originally comes in. Also, I'm sorry, Daisy's really into this theory. You guys, she's really into this theory. She's really needy. But with that being said, so going to Archie, Archie is the exact same, except he is the leader of Team Aqua, and their main thing is to bring Kyogre back to life with the blue orb. Now, in the respected Ruby and Sapphire games, Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby, they messed up. Well, I don't think they messed up in Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. They grabbed the wrong orb, tried to revive the Pokemon, and then the Pokemon didn't respond well, and it attacked. In the Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby adaptation, when the game was remade, it was us, the character, who actually had the right orb, and when we interacted with the Pokemon, they ended up going primal, which created so much havoc. Now, taking it back to the older games, the primals didn't exist. They didn't exist until the newer games came out, and they didn't even exist in Emerald, in the Emerald adaptation as well. They didn't exist there, but that is a good point because they do face off in that one. Okay, so the basic concept of Emerald is in the Ruby and Sapphire games and the Alpha Sapphire games, the villain is whichever color game you're playing. So if you're playing blue, Archie's going to be the villain because Archie is the water evil leader of Team Aqua. Same for red being Ruby. And with that being said, you know, that really takes into account. So when you look at it, when you go into Emerald, you know, they face off. We finally get that Archie versus Maxie, Groudon versus Kyogre, and that's where Rayquaza comes into play, and it gets all crazy, and like it gets super crazy, and like the whole world is like heating up, but it's also raining, and it's just it's mayhem basically. So with that being said, the concept of this video is what if they worked together. This also can refer to Emerald. So in Emerald, they were against each other, but when you look at it, what if they didn't go against each other? What if they actually worked together? And honestly, I think that in Emerald, I think the same outcome would have happened. I think they would have both realized how bad they screwed up. But I also think that they would have been way, way more dangerous, because I think that, especially in this day and age, if they remade Emerald and they had them together, having both Kyogre and Groudon going primal and then turning on them, like, I think that it would just be bad. Like, if they worked together, I think that it would actually do more harm than good. Just for them, personally. Like, for us, obviously, like, in the main story, we're gonna defeat them, we're gonna take them out, we're gonna save the world, and blah, 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 and all that, that hero stuff. But when looking at it, like it would screw them up so bad because one wants one thing, one has a vision, and that's why they just never work together. So I think that, you know, the people, whoever wrote it, definitely chose the right way, because if they worked together, I think that it would be catastrophic to themselves more than the actual planet. I think that they would be powerful together. Don't get me wrong, they are very strong, and I think together they could make a lot of ground. They would actually speed up the process. I think the storyline would go a little faster, and they would have more resources and things like that, and they could play off of each other, and it would be really good and beneficial until those primals kick in. Because if you think about it, when you have a primal Kyogre, if you throw that primal Kyogre out, when you throw Groudon in and it goes primal, it gets priority. It gets priority over everything. So it's like you can't do that. So even if one sends the other out, like if one comes out, primals up, the next one's gonna totally wipe that out. So it's kind of like their purposes don't even add up. You can't have primal Groudon and primal Kyogre on the same team, because at the end of the day they would just hurt each other. Because as you know, desolate lands screw the water Pokemon over because they can't attack. Their water moves are totally useless. They can't even, like, they fizzle out. It doesn't work. Now going back to the original Emerald game, if they, before the primals were ever a thing, like if they teamed up, yes, it would be absolutely amazing. They would dominate. I think that on the Emerald timeline, the old timeline, we're gonna call it the old timeline, they would have dominated. I think that they would have wreaked havoc, and they would have destroyed everything. They would have successfully. It would have been kind of like the Rainbow Rocket series that we have in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think that it would have been very good for them. I think that they would have done really well, and I think that it would have worked out so good. Like, even like, because if you think about it, if they both succeed, right, and they both capture the respective Pokemon they want to have in a Master Ball, when Rayquaza comes out, they are both going to be in control of those Pokemon, meaning Rayquaza is going to have a harder time. Now, this isn't just the game, because I know in the game you can't have 2-on-1, but like, thinking as a whole, like if this was real and this was all real, as a whole, they would have destroyed. They would have absolutely destroyed everything. I think that even the hero would have had a harder time dealing with it. I mean, of course, you always have help. Like, I think that, you know, of course, the hero's always going to come out on top. But if on the Emerald timeline, if they worked together, it would have been a lot harder to actually beat the game, or even overcome them if it was an anime series, because they would just absolutely destroy everything. Now, in the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire timeline, they absolutely can't work together. The primals do not like each other. You know, I know that Kyogre versus Groudon it's a kind of like obvious, like they're always gonna fight. Like I get that, but in that timeline, if they worked together, they would hurt themselves more so. Like the other would basically get screwed over and then get mad and then be like, "Why are you screwing me over?" And then they would just end up fighting. But on the older timeline with Emerald, I think it would be great. So, looking back into it, and to wrap up this video, I think that the older timeline, absolutely. I think that if they worked together, they would have destroyed everything, they would have succeeded, and then they would have prospered, and then, you know, got the Master Ball, made an extra Master Ball, caught their Pokemon, and became the greatest evil organization ever to be seen. On the newer timeline, the one that we got with the Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, absolutely not. There's no way they're working together. There's just too many factors to come into play with the primals, plus Mega Rayquaza freaking murders. Not saying the primals can't beat Mega Rayquaza, but like, yeah, there's just no way. Old timeline, yes. If they work together, like, what if they work together, they would destroy. Newer timeline, if they work together, they would destroy each other. That's how it would end. If you like this video, leave a like. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit that bell button to be notified when I upload next. If you enjoyed this video and you like this series, drop it in the comment section below what you would like to see on the next What If video. I know I just got a request from my good buddy Zach over at Zach Productions. I will be doing that video much later in the week to add on to the What If series. You can check out What If Ash's Charizard